Don't worry, guys. We're recaffeinated. Actually slept well. Didn't wake all the babies up when we left in the dark today. We're good. Lauren, how you doing?
I'm good. Ready for day 2.
Day one was awesome.
It was.
I'm still blown away by how badass it was. We had hundreds of people in the later sessions, which
Yep.
is really cool. We
4
didn't
o'clock,
lose.
we had like over 100 people tuning into Alex Kemp's session. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That was AI. Was it AI?
AI and
analytics?
measurement. Yeah.
AI and analytics and stuff. That was cool. Yesterday was badass, man. I had a really good time. Action Behavior Centers. That was cool to see how the big guys scale up so much. And we talked about the actual measurement frameworks and how the media team is starting here and what they're doing. And then we talked a lot about Meta. There was an awesome one.
Yeah.
Lisa and Caro led a session all on how they make Meta work for medical groups.
And then Jean presented on creative
Yeah.
strategy. That was awesome too. Really important. Yeah.
Tied it all together. And that's the kind of stuff that we want to be bringing to the healthcare marketing community is like, how does this shit actually work? Let's not just talk strategies. A lot of conferences is like, no one wants to give the secret sauce. No. How the hell do you get media to work? How the hell do we actually track it? Speaking of tracking, I really like Charlie's session from Line and talking about turning bad data into kept appointments. And that's good. I mean, that's what we talk about every single day is we don't give a shit about your CPL. We want to see how many actual booked appointments. And Charlie's session I thought was super good on that.
It was a good segue into our first session today, ROI and attribution. So keeping the theme rolling in day 2.
That's right. See, Lauren's trying to get me rolling. She doesn't like how long the shit took yesterday. That's okay.
Well, yesterday we had 15 minutes, so you got your 15 minutes, but today we have 5.
This is the last bit of fame that I'll get, guys. So I'm going to use all my 15 minutes. Today's going to be badass too, guys. Today's going to be badass. AEG Vision, Rochelle, 3-time speaker, I think maybe 2 times, 3 times, 8-year client. So that's that, man. 500 location optometry group talking about how to scale that up. We got Teresa, 3-time speaker, talking about how she does. And it's actually, it's an in-house presentation. She works obviously client side. So that's going to be actually how she goes through.
Both of those will be, how their teams are growing. Yeah.
Badass. And then we've got AIO, SEO, WTF. That's later. And Rob is actually going to show examples. How do we track in the LLMs our success? What's the actual work we do?
What do we do about that? How do we improve our visibility?
And how much does it actually matter right now?
Yeah.
So that'll be badass. And we also have the flockies later. We actually ended up getting some good submissions.
We didn't just make it up. It's actually happening.
I was nervous, dude. Like 3 weeks out, we had like 1 submission per, and I was like, fuck, man, this is just going to be like.
I mean, it's year 1. We got to start somewhere.
We got to start somewhere, but we actually did get a bunch of submissions, and we got the fire on, Carrie. Learning from our mistakes.
Freezing in Atlanta today. So
this fire is fake, Lauren. This shit doesn't.
I think it put some warmth out.
No, it doesn't do anything. The vents are even fake. It's bullshit. This whole stage. This is show business. Nothing's real. Atlanta, they call ATL. What do they call us now? ATL what? No. Hollywood of the South, something like that, right? So flockies later. Beers. Hey, if you're in Atlanta, we're going to be heading to Harvey at 5 o'clock.
Someone said Yollywood.
Yollywood.
Thank you,
That's
Matt
right.
called it out.
That's right. And then 5 o'clock, we're hitting the bars, maybe 4 o'clock. Usually my energy runs out by noon o'clock and I'm going to start drinking. And so the afternoon panels I'm hosting will get weird. This morning, though, we're kicking it off with a badass one. We've got, we are kicking it off.
Amazing sponsors one more time.
Let's do sponsors in a second. And guys, stay tuned because the session that we have starting in 7 minutes is unbelievable. I attended the pre-planning session with them and it's going to be unbelievable. Let's talk about our sponsors that give us lots of money.
Yeah, I mean, call tracking, lead tracking, HIPAA compliance, DSPs. We've got ZocDoc up there, which everyone in healthcare knows. So all the tools that enable our clients, and I'm sure many of you on the session today.
You know what was crazy about yesterday? Besides my cocaine energy, was we didn't mention HIPAA compliance one time in the opening. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you have to do all this stuff and be compliant, but in years past, it was like just compliance.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah. The healthcare marketers are moving on. They accept, they understand. It's table stakes. We all kind of know the right things to do. And now we're just looking for the right systems and people to make sure that we accelerate advertising and SEO. It's good stuff. All right. Are we ready to get rolling?
Yeah, we're going to do a poll real quick just to kick off the day. We like to see how everybody's feeling, what y'all are thinking, and then we're going to bring in our panelists. So Measurement framework. Want to see where everybody's at, especially as we go into a session talking about how to move you guys forward in your measurement framework. So if everyone wants to, click into the poll real quick and let us know what best describes the current state of your measurement framework.
Who's going to embarrass himself and put normal?
Say nothing.
No formal. No, they're going to
I
say
mean,
no.
the people that it's anonymous.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
To learn.
That's right. Next year we don't make it anonymous, so we can call out our friends for advanced measurement, incrementality testing. No one's doing it.
I don't know. Are we live with it, Austin?
No one's doing that. Measurement, is there an option below the first one? Heather, we're working on that one. We're working on that one, just learning what measurement means.
What is
Maybe
measurement?
what is measurement? Let's do that next year.
Look at it. 22 people admitting where they're at.
Oh, I'm
We
proud
can
of
help
you
you.
guys. I'm at it. Look, 30% have no. I love that. Okay.
It is the reality. It's really hard to do, and sometimes the kind of analysis paralysis of like not having the perfect thing, you just do nothing.
You just do nothing, and the C-suite won't invest in it. Yet they want more bookings, but you say we have no way to track them. This is crazy.
Yeah,
This
that's
is so
pretty even
cool.
split right there.
And now we know healthcare marketers are good people. They're all transparent about where they're at.
Well, we already knew that.
We knew that. We knew that. You chose healthcare for a reason because you're good people. Multi-touch. Did we post this poll? We can post it now.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Look what won. Kind of don't believe that multi-touch attribution. I don't think.
It's that you don't think as many people have
I
it as
don't
their-
think. I think you might think you
wishful
think, but yeah, I still see the majority of groups are on last click attribution. I think it's
that's common. I think
Yeah,
that's a
it's
common
common.
place to start.
hard to do much else
It is.
in healthcare.
Legacy EHRs and black box tools. Yeah, it's challenging. And we heard from Jen yesterday on our opening session that the first hire she would make is someone in data analytics. And I think if you don't have that in-house, it really then makes it a lot more complicated.
Makes it complicated, and these house of brands that all have legacy systems and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And last click generally will get people, I mean, healthcare is predominantly still in the Google suite, and so
Yeah.
last click kind of works. But today we're going to be talking about all kinds of
Yeah,
other
let's dive
fancy
into
ways
it.
to
We'll
do
bring
more
in some
stuff.
people and let's let the smart people talk about it, not just us.
You were about to say, not you, Alex. You know, it's okay.
Not you, not me,
All
no.
right. I drank smart water yesterday. It didn't help.
Let's see. I think we've got Sherry Ann, Monu, Ray should be on the line. Let's go ahead and have them introduce themselves. Sherry Ann, if you're on, would love for you to say hello, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and Heartland Dental.
Hi, I'm Sherry Ann James, and as you said, I'm with Heartland Dental. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer there. Heartland Dental, we have 1,900 providers who are part of our provider client group, and we support over 3,000 doctors. And as the head of marketing, one of the critical support services we provide to them is patient flow. So that's both new patient acquisition, but also even supporting recare through some of our journey nurturing work that we do, as well as the creative development and the websites infrastructure in support of that. So that's what my team and I do for our providers.
Awesome. Good to have you on, Sherry Ann. We're going to hear more about you in just a minute. Monu from the Dooley offices in Chicago. Good to see you. How's it
Good
going?
morning. It's going great. Can you hear me okay?
Central time.
Can you hear me okay?
We got you.
Awesome. Awesome. Good to be here. And Alex, I'm with you. I'm not sure if I believe the multi-touch attribution number there. But if folks have cracked it, I'm ready to listen and adapt it. But Manu Kelsey, Senior Vice President of Dooley Health and Care. And for folks who don't know Dooley Health and Care, we are probably one of the largest independent multi-specialty physician-led group out there in the country, with more than 900 plus providers, primary care, specialty care, in about more than 150 locations and 6,000 team members across serving patients across 3 states. Marketing's mandate at Dooley has shifted over time, and in the last sort of 8 or 9 months I've been here, we are now focused on the tip of the spear, which is driving patient acquisition, patient retention, and making sure that we are growing our patient book of business. So we are at the tip of the spear and serving as a profit center for the company.
Awesome. And Ray, longtime friend of Cardinals. We just said HIPAA compliance as a standalone topic wasn't the theme this year, but it was really, that's table stakes. And now we've got to move on to really the right measurement framework. You guys enable that to happen. Tell us about Fresh Paint.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. Like we've been talking about privacy in a vacuum for the last 2.5 years. And I think now, and I'm really excited for the content you have today, which is privacy fuels performance. So how do we get to those North Star metrics like patient acquisition? I also agree. How do we get everyone to multi-touch attribution versus just living and dying off of Google? We make sure that those things are easy to stand up in healthcare while making sure none of that strategy gets derailed by this growing surface area of privacy that is federal and class action lawsuits and state privacy laws, like too many things to keep up with at once. You need to make sure you cover those bases so that tomorrow your entire strategy that you spent 3 years building to drive that North Star doesn't derail you overnight and shock the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to learn from Sharon and Monu how that's happening in their orgs. And Ray, you've got a lot of context on what actually happens in the back end to enable that. I think sometimes it's a little bit black, black magic, and we'll get a peek behind the curtain today. Monu, I've had the pleasure of working directly with you. I know you came into the org. What was it? Early 2025, so earlier this year.
Correct.
And you came into a seat, and there was a lot of change. I know you had to kind of build relationships with ops and finance. How do you get, we've been asking a lot of the CMOs how to get alignment across the org from your peers in those departments in order to start enabling things like measurement, accountability, and alignment on KPIs.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that is a journey we've been on. I think the number one thing is understand and speak the language, right? So I've seen this far too often. I'm sure you guys have seen this, right? Marketing speaks a different jargon language, and your finance folks, your operations folks, your business folks, your CEO, your board is speaking a different language. And those two languages don't sort of align. So it's really about, hey, understanding what are the key metrics that really matter and actually drive the business. And then I keep saying this to my team all the time: own a number or numbers, right? Make sure that you understand how do you directly or indirectly influence or drive that metric. Once you establish that relationship or that bridge, and then you measure it on a regular basis, and you can basically communicate that to your peers in finance or in the C-suite, that's how you start to kind of build that relationship. And that's when they start to understand all the efforts that we do behind the scenes, most of it which is unknown or they're unaware of, right? It's like the duck on a calm sort of water, right? You're sailing, but you're going crazy below the water. They don't see that, so they only see the numbers that they understand. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, and Monu, just to get really tactical here, we promised everybody listening we would, help them really get into the weeds.
Yeah.
What are some of the KPIs that you found are good bridges between marketing? We have a lot of metrics in marketing, and then
Right.
speaking the language of finance and ops that you have found are like a happy medium.
Yeah, it depends on your maturity, right, where you are at. And if you're just starting off, like I would say in our space, where we have started to really put the stake in the ground is new patient acquisition, right? So really starting to track how many new patients we're bringing in, from what channels, at what CAC or customer acquisition cost, has been definitely a place where we started, right? The evolution from there is going to be revenue, and then all the way down to EBITDA and LTV, etc. But it's really understanding what kind of new patient growth we're driving. And even if that's hard to determine or place a bet on, then I would say start with appointments, right? Appointments is a place where marketing definitely should be playing, right, in driving the appointments for especially in our case, it's for our physicians for different specialties we have, and we have over 50 specialties. So really understanding how marketing is driving that, what's the attribution to the channels, is exactly where I would start. And that is a great place to sort of own and build trust and then iterate from there.
Yeah, and Monu, so many people answered in that poll that they didn't have a measurement framework. So I think where you are is the envy of some people. Even Ray, from your perspective, if you don't have visibility even into appointments or some of these things that Monu is saying that where his organization is, what do you think are some good steps to start to work towards that if you're in that analysis paralysis stage?
Yeah, I mean, this is a part coming from, I've been a B2B SaaS marketer my whole life. So this is the part that I kind of scream in my head every day. Like, if you're outside of healthcare and you are going to spend 70+% of your spend on Google, and you don't have conversion optimization set up to the best possible outcome, like that is the very first, that is table stakes. That is the very first thing you're doing. What I mean by that specifically, let's just say it, like a web form, a web booking form is not the same. And Alex says Sally showed up for the appointment. It's not the same as Sally actually showing up for the appointment. That's because Google really, really, really cares about intent. So much so that when customers do connect all the way from the ad click down to Sally showing up for the appointment, we've seen improvements of revenue by 20% on equivalent ad spend. So that fall off between a web booking and someone actually showing up is a pretty significant signal for Google. So the very first thing is connect those dots. And what that unlocks for you is more accurate data, better data for Google's machine learning models. And it also unlocks the ability to test different bidding algorithms. Like now that you actually know CPA, you can start testing and experimenting with CPA levels to see if you can actually squeeze more blood from the stone. Now that you actually know potentially revenue of that appointment, you can start testing target ROAS. Everybody's looking to get more out of Google. The number one thing you should do is just make sure you're connecting to the actual conversion that matters to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard to be accountable to finance and ops partners when you can't tie what you're doing to the things that they care about. Sherry, I think you've got an organization that you build an ROI scorecard and you are connecting some of these marketing actions to the revenue. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to that point?
So the team spent a lot of time building a tech stack that allowed us to connect all our data ultimately through SAP. So I'm not an IT expert and I'm not going to purport to be one, but at a simple level, it's basically connecting the investment that we make in all of the media channels, whether that's direct mail or meta ads or Google as an example, and then the bookings and visits to Alex, or to Ray's point rather, that come from that. And then that visit is tracked all the way to the value that the patient creates. And so that I like to call it, those two pipes are stitched together so that for each practice, we can then deliver the return on investment of their media spend and help inform why they should invest more, why they should invest less, help encourage them to open up patient scheduling blocks, which also helps drive the conversion. And it's been really a huge unlock for our ability to add value to the providers.
Yeah, and I think that what you just said about the data enabling then conversations with ops about opening more appointments is so critical, because oftentimes it's get more and more and more marketing, and then all of a sudden you've got money going into driving new patients to clinicians or locations that have no appointment availability, and you're just kind of flushing money down the toilet. So I think that's really important. Alex, I'll let you.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So you must have BFF'd with the COO pretty immediately. Is that like first order of business is get ops and finance? Are you being fed the capacity data, Sherry Ann, pretty frequently? How do you know which? How do you scorecard out, or how do you know which clinics? I mean, you have 1,900 of those things. Like, where do you start? I mean, you're so calm, and I'd be losing my effing mind every day with 1,900 clinics. How do you know where to prioritize?
So we have this infrastructure that we use called a new patient operating model. And basically, we try to tick and tie and segment every practice. So at a simple level, we have a segment of practices where there's provider change happening, whether that's hygiene or provider, the actual doctor, and that's in one bucket. And then we let the marketing strategy be informed from that. Then we have another group where the production and the new patients are up, but there's capacity available. So that informs another set of investment decision. And then we have the group that is near and dear to my heart, where there's capacity, but new patients are down and productions are down. And that's usually the ones that my team and I are very hyper focused, because as I like to say, they need the most medicine. That also helps inform where we're spending and also where we're innovating, because I think a misnomer often in healthcare marketing, especially when you're at the local brand level, is there can be too much of a focus on only paid marketing channels, and some of the basic fundamentals, like strengthening your Google business profile, like empowering and supporting the doctors and creating a strong referral network, and even having them reach out within their local community to create awareness of that local brand. And sometimes if those foundational things are not in place and set up effectively, it does not work to just throw paid marketing at the problem. And I think that's a big misnomer at times, that I need more new patients. So the first instinct is to want to spend more. And I try to encourage us to look at those fundamentals first.
I love that. And a lot of
And
that comes
can
from
I chime in on that too? Can I chime in on the last point
yeah,
by
Marty,
Sharian?
yep.
I mean, this is sort of like almost a life we're leading right now. It's like a page from our playbook right now. So yeah, I think it's an interesting point that paid media is something that is sort of maybe easier, maybe understood better, or maybe simpler for non-marketers to understand. And I think it almost gives the overly simplified view of what we do, right? It's about, if you give X amount of money to Google, I can get Y amount of patients. And it's not that simple, right? So I have these conversations. Funny enough, we just had this conversation yesterday where it's like, okay, how much more money do we need for how many more patients? And it's not that simple, right? And this is where the journey we're on right now is to explain that integrated marketing approach, right? It's an integrated sport where, to Sharian's point, you have to do work on your brand. You have to make sure your offline, online channels are working together. You have to be in the community, doing all the engagement with your patients, shaking hands, kissing babies, what have you. And that's when your paid media is going to deliver on the promise of that volume and the CAC. It's not a one-trick pony. So sorry, I just want to chime in, because that's such a important education or alignment that you have to gain, because without all those activities, your cost of acquisition is probably multiple X.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I know firsthand from working together, we've done a lot of like trying to, I think sometimes you can over-engineer paid to try to get the customer to do something, and really taking a half step back and saying, what is the customer's easiest journey? And so you've done a lot of work on improving your booking flows and things as well. It's not just like front end dollars into the machine, but every touch point you have with that patient through the journey.
Correct. It's relentless focus, right, on the entire funnel, if you will, right, and making sure that once you're getting them in, you're minimizing leakage at every point and introducing friction. So yes, I know, Lauren, we talk about that weekly with you guys.
I love it. You guys are doing a lot there.
Our SEO team must be going through the roof right now, because
Rob's chatting saying, hell yeah.
I mean, Sharian is the CMO, the biggest fucking MSO DSO in the country, and she said Google Business Profile. Look, SEO is the best. And I think it's really relevant that all of the channels work together. I think just throwing paid cannot fix the problem. It just accelerates a good thing. And I think a lot of where the hooked on paid, we'll just call it, I think it comes from a lot of practices are PE backed, and that's what makes sense when you show money.
It's a bit more linear than anything else.
It is. And hold on, one more quick question for Manu. So explaining, or Sharian, how do you explain to the rest of the C-suite that we're going to do a bunch of stuff, Google Business Profile, traditional, we're going to sponsor the high school team, we're going to go talk to the doctors and get more referrals. How do you explain to the rest of the C-suite that may or may not work in 90 to 120 days, and I'll get back to you? How do you get the patience from the rest of the C-suite, guys?
I can go for it. It's not easy, right? We are a private equity backed firm as well, so obviously the pace is high. There's a lot of like, let's go get things today, right? Short term, next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, etc. So, paid media and then we're a last touch attribution model is what we follow. So many times paid media does get the attribution for all the effort that maybe content marketing and event team and everything else we're doing from a brand perspective has been working on for months and months and weeks, right? So it is a journey that we're on. We are being very careful now when we talk about marketing to our counterparts, and I do this daily, is to not to jump to paid media, is really to step back and explain it in the context of integrated marketing, make sure they have awareness of all the different efforts we're doing. Some of them are easier to measure than the others, right, as you guys know, but it's really all about sort of reverse mentoring and educating them that this is an integrated effort, and just paid me. If you just gave me another $1 million for paid media, I'm not just going to be. It's not a linear thing where you're just going to get X amount of patients. There's definitely some non-linearity here, and all of these have to work together. So that's the journey we're on. I don't know, Marianne, like how are you guys doing?
So very similar.
Sherry,
It's all right.
I butchered it.
I called Ray Alex.
Hey, I don't care what you call me as long as you call me.
So, but it's very similar. I will say, and in celebration of Heartland's culture, that we have a very collaborative dynamic, whether it's with our finance counterparts or our operations counterparts. So I don't find myself having to fight with them or advocate, but just more engage in a conversation. Where we, as I said earlier, where we definitely have an opportunity is to put as much as we can tracking into the parts that aren't paid. So currently, for example, we're exploring tracking numbers on our business profiles. And in the pilot that we've done, we've seen as much as 40% of the, again, last touch attribution, but coming in through that. We are also exploring what we might be able to do with our payers because we are a healthcare service. So a lot of times the discovery of providers coming through the visibility on the payer network. And we're also trying to do some automation even with our referrals, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the biggest directionally areas that we know that new patient flow comes in, but we only know it from what the patient said when they come in. And so that's an area that we're trying through our Salesforce marketing to put more structure on. So the high level answer is if you can't measure it, you can't optimize it. So a big part of the focus of my team and I is how we can get that tracking dynamic on across everything so that we can be better at optimizing it. And I'm very intrigued that a third of the panelists purport to have multi-touch attribution. So would love to have them share what they're doing because
Maybe our panelists next
We'll
time.
let that take the panel next time.
Please, yeah.
Put your hand
That
up.
feels-
Show us who you are.
Right, that's probably music to your ears. If you can't measure it, you can't optimize it. I know that's like, at your core.
Oh my gosh.
You sit on millions and millions of data points from clients who are doing the stitching that Sherry had mentioned and that Mona is working on. When you go from like last click dependency to opening up something a little bit more sophisticated, what do you see that your clients and the organizations are able to do? How can they move forward? What traps are they able to break free from?
Yeah, I mean, there's something here, which is like when we talk about paid media, this is not just private equity, this is across healthcare. The majority of the paid media spend is in Google Ads specifically. Like sometimes we have customers that have 80% of their spend in Google Ads. When I think of paid media, that's not a paid media strategy. That's an intent strategy. Like Google Ads is not demand gen, it's intent capture, and intent is like finite and fickle and really expensive in 2025. And I think part of the problem is we're creating our own traps. And what we're doing is letting someone who's not a marketer control our narrative. And I see the frustration all the time. Like CMOs will literally say, I have to explain to my leadership that this top of funnel strategy isn't driving the same direct conversions as Google. And they're really, the frustration is palpable. But like, get over it. Like, that's what you're facing. And so the way that you can get the narrative back is you need the data. That is like your best shot at rewriting the story for your strategy. And that's exactly what it unlocks because we get past, like, I've got to sell someone that this brand campaign, they've got to believe me. No, just go like build the data that Sherry Ann talked about so you can actually have a conversation driven by data. Like in B2B SaaS, you also have like investors and you have to go in front of a board and you have to look at unit economics. Like, is this business working? Is it an effective and efficient business? And if it's not, you're not going to be allowed to continue to invest in those channels. So you just have to have data. I think that's the single biggest thing that connecting these dots will unlock you is move past the theoretical to the actual.
And Ray, in some of your clients or customers that have been able to, use a CDP or a platform to unlock some of that, what do their mixes look like? Just to get really tactical here for a minute, like what are some of the other channels that you have found have strong correlation to measurability, but also a strong correlation to driving impact?
They moved to 79% Google Ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That 1%.
Hey,
Yeah,
let's be honest.
let's be
Multi-site
honest.
healthcare is still Google Ads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I hope no one's offended here, but this is a low inertia market. Like, it doesn't move exactly fast. So we're doing a little bit of crawl, walk, and then hopefully one day running. But what we do see, there's two reasons. We're not going to talk a lot about the privacy piece, but a lot of healthcare marketers want to move up funnel and start to build, let's not call them awareness campaigns. Let's call it demand gen. Let's take a page from B2B SaaS. You're generating demand in your consumer base that isn't coming to Google. So they want to do that. And there's two things that block them. A lot of those tools, there's no way to do it in a privacy first way. So their legal and compliance teams don't even allow them to do that. So if you take a privacy first approach, that unlocks that possibility. And so what we see is people start to do a mix. Maybe they start to put 10% of their spend into those demand gen campaigns. And maybe that's very targeted. Maybe there's specific geos where they've invested in new locations and they need to go warm up that audience so that their bottom of funnel stuff is more effective. So I'm going to say, like, right now, it is still very, very heavily in Google, but we are seeing people taking 10, 20% of their spend. Pick your DSP, pick your CTV platform. Audio is starting to emerge. People are investing into audio channels. People are testing different social platforms outside of Meta, building like that middle funnel motion. So we are starting to see it, but I'm with Alex. I'm going to be honest. It's not like we've made a huge shift away from Google, but the sea is churning a bit. People are talking about it. Yeah.
I think the use cases you mentioned are really significant, Mona. You guys have kind of your general patient acquisition, and then you've built like your new clinics in Schaumburg where you're taking a very different approach and a mix. Like, talk about what that looks like.
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of parallels between what we do for the entire organization and then for our new sort of like MOB, which is Medical Office Building, Schaumburg, Illinois. I think the Schaumburg use case has been eye-opening for us, which is where we've really gone multi-channel, right? Leading up to the opening of that office, which was a pretty large bet for us in a market that was almost a medical desert, right? I think there's a lot of need, etc. But at the same time, Dooley has absolutely no awareness there, right? People do not know the Dooley brand, etc. We really went multi-channel, doubling down on our community engagement, our community efforts that we wanted to do, that bringing our physicians and our care teams into the markets and sort of let that snowball over time. And then investing in direct mail, in door hangers, some of these sort of like offline campaigns which still work, right? It still builds the sort of awareness and in curiosity with patients who do not know Dooley there, and then doing a lot of work on the content marketing side. So whether it's on our own channels or on social media, etc., starting to bring our experts and expertise onto that as well. So I would say it was one of our best use cases, which has really resulted in a stellar opening of that location. We've exceeded our results month over month for the last 3 months that we've been open, and we've overachieved our marketing goals. We just went through the report yesterday with our leadership team. We continue to drive new patients into the immediate care centers, into our specialists, doctors, etc. And guess what? Now the discussion is, how do we invest more, right, in next year in marketing for Schaumburg? So it's not like how can we dial down? It's like let's dial up. Exactly. So again, we're taking some pages from that book, and we're going to start to apply that in other locations. But obviously, there have been challenges in different locations.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharian, you mentioned the culture there and it very much being collaborative, and it's not being combative or explaining. You guys have a pretty sophisticated, you mentioned like matchback. What type of reporting are you bringing to your board meetings or your leadership level meetings? What type of metrics are you guys discussing?
So appointments, visits, and per patient revenue, a big focus area too is, as we've been saying of late, not all patients are created equal. And what I mean by that is because we're in the healthcare space, the older the patient gets, the more care they need, and the more dental health is they need. And what we find is that Medicare Advantage patients in particular are extremely valuable, not just in their first visit, but they're a Medicare Advantage patient in the second year is as valuable to us as an average new patient. So clearly, that shows you the kind of data that we are discussing by me sharing those insights with you. It's really that per patient value, what their year 1, year 2, year 3 production is, what their recare behavior is like, and then how we can further convert them to treatments that were recommended for them, but they didn't yet uptake. So a lot of what we are looking at is that patient value and treatment conversion.
Yeah, and that's great. So y'all have moved beyond just first appointment ROI to really layering in the lifetime value of the patient, which is one of
Absolutely.
the holy grails.
Yep, absolutely. And the goal would be to get even more sophisticated at not just driving the patient volume, but driving the patient mix because of all of the facts that I was saying. So trying to really increase the mix of Medicare Advantage patients, for example, that are in our providers' doors because they're such valuable patients for them.
Yeah. And Sherry, and everybody wants to know, how the heck did you get there? I mean, tell us what does your internal data analytics IT team look like?
And
we're inspirational.
We're looking at the chats, by the way. Thank you for the question. It's blowing up, and we'll have more. We're going to ask more direct questions towards that. Sherry Ann, everybody wants to know, and they also want to know customer lifetime value, what mix works best. I think they just need to hit you up on the side. Give us the recipe, Sherry Ann. But anyways, yeah, if you can tell them a little bit about that, that's awesome.
What type of people in your org help you to do that for anybody who's saying, like, where do I even start?
Yeah, so the work that was done, and shout out to the people that came before me, because honestly, I landed at Heartland with this infrastructure built, but was very much done in the collaboration with what we call our XP&A team, which is our finance team, and then of course IT, because what was stood up in terms of the tech stack is we have a Google Cloud that feeds in all of the data, and then that data then goes to SAP so that we can have these dashboards that any provider can see that will literally show them what their overall new patient volume is, what their patient recare rates are, what their funnel looks like. So how many patients are calling, how many patients are going online, what the drop off of that funnel is from those calls to making appointments to actually making visits, and that we can then cross tap that with other information to give guidance on, as I mentioned, one of the opportunities is to open up those online scheduling box. We call them direct patient scheduling box. That's always the balance with the provider wanting to control their time and control what's happening in their practice, and us as marketers wanting a complete wide open DPS blocks as we can then optimize to the scheduler. So we're able to have intelligent conversations about that. Even things like we don't only rely on Google. I'm happy to say, Ray, in fact, one of our biggest investment channels is direct mail. And even things like, we find that when we put certain offers on the direct mail, that they do create lifetime value, but they're very, they're not always appealing to our providers because they don't like seeing, for example, the offer of a free emergency exam, because it feels like they're giving away their services for free. And so we try to have a dialogue that demonstrates that patient comes in for that free emergency exam, it becomes an opportunity to diagnose and give them the care that they need. And then that lifetime value more than covers that exam. It doesn't mean that we're always able to convince them, but what we try to educate our field marketers is to leverage the data to have the conversation and show them their own data to be able to get them to want to put those types of offers, for example, on a direct mail card.
Yeah. Democratizing the data. That was a big theme from last year. And it sounds like everybody's made some good strides. Monu.
Just going to brush over direct mail, working better than digital.
I think we've always known. I think Sherry, and I'm sure, like, when are you most likely to change your dentist? Like moving to a new community, moving to a new neighborhood. I think it's probably one of those things that was used a lot in the past. People went full, swung the pendulum
Yeah.
a good bit, and now everyone's kind of recalibrating what is the right mix of.
Well,
Monty,
and I also think I was
yeah.
just going to say one thing on the direct mail, and I will say sometimes for some practices digital works better, but that's the nice thing about having the data. But direct mail works a lot better than we talk about, so that's why I wanted to mention it. But the I also believe, to the point Ray made about intent, like, so Google and particularly search really catching intent as opposed to creating demand. A direct mail card allows you to create a much better narrative around what the practice is. So even though I gave a very pragmatic example about offers, it allows you to celebrate the providers, build some brand awareness, and that's why I believe the piece has value. Because while we struggle with multi-touch attribution, instinctively as a marketer, you know that piece is living a lot longer than a search piece, and helping to build something that lasts for the lifetime of the practice.
Sherry, and I'm going to reach out to you and see how you guys built that. And I want to learn from you guys. I've had a lot of
It's all
success with
about
direct.
connections.
Sherry,
Yeah.
you have about 1,000 followers. By the way, guys, Sherry is not easy to get to. I had to sponsor and attend a conference just because I knew Sherry Ann was going to be there with Jess Thompson. I fucking followed them around for 2 days. Finally got Jess at booth, and I said, I need Sherry Ann scaling up. That's good luck. Good luck getting to her. Sorry, Manu, go ahead.
Maybe I was too easy to get, man. Maybe I should have given you a hard time.
Because we know you, we know where you are right now in that office. What is your, I think, because everybody's been asking, what is your internal or external resources look like around data enabling measurement? How do you get it done?
Is that sorry? That's that
You
question to
wanna-
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's again, we lean heavily upon our counterparts in IT, in data and analytics, and in our growth team to sort of, almost stitch everything together, right? We are a small team and growing. We have built some chops in digital, etc., and we're building our chops in data and analytics, etc. So we lean heavily on the village. We need the whole village to bring it together. So I'm envious of people who actually have built the infrastructure with the CDP that is integrated with the CRM and have all the data available to them to do it in a much more sophisticated fashion. We are a very heavy Excel and shop here, and we do have some other tools which help us do our analytics and automate it, but it's really about bringing all of them together. And this is where I feel like the more we are bringing them closer to us and they understand why we are doing certain things and why they matter, and the more our marketers can understand our data structures in Epic and other platforms, we are starting to really speak the same language, and the outputs are coming out faster. They're coming out error-free. They're requiring less iterations. So I feel like it's really a great partnership that is we're building here.
Yeah. Ray, anything you would add on, you're often on the other side of working with those teams that you think best enables, a CDP or multi-touch attribution to be put in place when thinking about your customers?
Yeah, where do you start? We've talked,
Yeah.
I mean, these are sophisticated. Where does it start? The majority of groups out there are not this sophisticated yet. They're, so where do they start? What helps enable the right things?
Yeah, I think it's helpful that I'm on a call with Sherry Ann and Manu, who are unicorns who have actually been able to stand this up. Most of healthcare, this is really difficult and not approachable. I think UCLA spent $3 million to connect the patient journey, which I think many people, if they didn't fall off their chair, probably aren't going to get that budget. And so this is why I always say privacy is it's not a blocker. We've been viewing privacy as this pain in the ass, this annoyance. See, I said a curse word, Alex. I qualify maybe for a future panel. It's really this opportunity in this low inertia market to get buy-in across the organization. Marketing needs this new shiny tool no one cares, but privacy is something that everyone cares about. Legal, compliance, the C-suite, IT. And this is a moment to buy that on the privacy wedge and unlock these future use cases. What do I mean by that is yesterday, you were using all this native technology and just shipping stuff off freely to all these ad platforms that are benefiting from your data. Tomorrow, using privacy and getting that internal buy-in, you've now moved to a world of first-party data. And guess what? like that thing called multi-touch that is so hard to do, you actually have all your impressions from your DSP in the one platform. You have all your mid-funnel data from social in the platform. You have Google Ads data in the platform. And because that platform is going to sign a BAA and shore up your privacy, you can start considering connecting some of those other sources like your booking or your EHR, your CRM, wherever you have your data. And so the technology itself, this privacy moment, starts to lay the tracks for you to get to a place where all the data that used to be so fragmented is just there already. That's a big thing that we're working on at FreshPain, is to make this really approachable. The privacy starts to fuel the performance. The privacy starts to give you that single pane of glass that is just so hard to get to today and so hard to get buy-in. So I think that if you're thinking of privacy as a blocker, you need to shift the mindset and be selfish and think of this as a strategic moment that you can leverage the organizational buy-in to get some of the investments. Just make sure the investment that you make is getting you in the direction that Mano and Sherry-Ann are talking about, of not just shoring up privacy, but getting you to the future state of being able to like deliver those new patient volume or the other jobs to be done that you have. Definitely connecting the dots is a critical piece.
Yeah.
And I can, if I may just chime in on that one. So, Ray, I agree with you. Privacy is a friend, and having worked in regulated industries for the last decade or so, I mean, you can still do stellar marketing even in regulated industries, right? You just need to probably work harder, right? Some of the data which is available to non-regulated industry marketers may not be available to you, but there are ways to bridge that gap. And if you put the effort and time around it and iterate, we should be able to connect the dots and tell our story. It's all about story, right? I think marketers, where they find it really hard, is to sit at that table across from the board or from your C-suite and say, what did you do with that $1 million I gave you? And how much revenue did you drive? Or how many new patients did you bring in? Or whatever that success metric might be. I will challenge everyone that you should be able to tell that story. I hear it way too often when people say, "Oh, we cannot connect these out because we're in a regular industry," or HIPAA is really handcuffing us. I would call BS on that.
Yeah.
You have to. It's not even that you can do it, Mano. You have to do it,
You
right?
have
Like
to do it.
you just have to
do
get
it.
that. You have to get
Right.
there.
Right. I know. I do not get a hall pass for that. Like, I have to connect those dots. I mean, in order to keep my job.
We're on a mission to put class action attorneys out of business.
Yeah. At least industry. They can go do their stuff
Yeah,
elsewhere.
go somewhere else. Go somewhere else.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
right.
cues that we
Yeah,
want to ace.
I think let's wrap this with kind of one final question to y'all. This has been a fun thing to ask everybody, a little bit off topic, but might be relevant. Would love to hear how you guys are thinking about the use of AI going into next year, and if it's specific to how you're improving your ability to analyze high volumes of data, or measure ROI, or enable your reports. I think if you have any tips or tricks there, or even just something you want to do that you haven't done yet, that would be really cool.
By the way, Ashley, Lauren just answered the question. You tell me not to do it all the time.
No, I'm reading the question that she put on the screen. Ashley, it says it right there.
And a perfectly acceptable answer is, we're not doing a ton with it yet. That's also a good.
You can give me something else you're doing with AI.
Sherry-Ann, anything fun, exciting, or
we have an ambition. So, and it's very ambitious. So I won't know if we'll get there, but you guys talked about the dynamic of provider capacity and all of the other signals, because we are, at the end of the day, marketing a dynamic, living, breathing service that's changing all the time. So what we are trying to see if we can build, and we have out for proposal right now, is a AI model that would feed the multitudes of data signals that we get from the provider capacity, just being one of many, and help us optimize our media to that. So right now we have a very simplistic rule-based model based on our ROI that basically says if we're getting a certain cost per visit, then we ramp up the spend, and if it's below a certain threshold, then we ramp down the spend. It's basically taking that to a much more sophisticated dynamic model is the aspiration so that we can optimize the spend on the fly to the benefit of our provider. So again, it's conceptualized right now. I really hope we'll be able to make it a reality. I think if we do, we'll be much more effective with our spend. But I don't want to say anything other than it's an idea. So please don't ask me how we're going to do it, because we're just fleshing out the concept as we speak.
Love it. I think we've talked about that concept for,
Yeah.
we love it,
That's,
Sharyan.
that's RevRx.
It's the holy grail. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Hey,
And
ours
you
is
take
also as
TA data and your provider pipeline
Yeah.
and comings and goings, and all of a sudden you've got
Lauren.
this.
Lauren, before
really-
it was RevRx, she called it capacitize.
I was
and-
going to build a product very similar to that. We
Yeah,
just
Sherry might actually.
Sharyan, I'll call you.
She might get to it first. Manu, any thoughts on the AI?
Yeah, just like many other firms in the space, right? We are in the early innings, I would say, of AI, but we fully recognize and appreciate the need for rapid adoption, right? To create value for our patients, and also to create differentiation, right? If we can get on it faster than our competitors, I think it's going to help us. Right now, it's limited. We use some Gen AI tools in the content marketing space. We obviously partner with one of your sponsors, Patient Prism, in the contact center world in terms of like tracking, measuring, and then integrating with the ad platforms. And we're doing some significant AI implementations when it comes to clinical settings. So from a marketing standpoint, it's limited, but we are actively having conversation about how do we use it from everything from like targeting to demand gen to next best action, AI-driven patient engagement to measurement, right? I think we see applications in many areas, and we're starting to actively sort of like test and learn, right? That's the motto here. So that's where we're at. But if anybody has cracked that nut, please let us know, and I would love to chat and see how we can move on that faster.
We might have to do like a mini 90-minute scaling up mid-year so everybody can come back and share how far they've gotten halfway through the year, because it's what everyone's working on. So
Yeah,
there's an idea for Ashley and the
we need something midway.
I don't want to
through
wait
here.
till next year. It moves so fast.
We had some cues. Hold on, go to the
Okay,
question.
hold on.
Maybe we can do a rapid fire.
We got like 3 minutes. Yeah.
Oh shit, y'all didn't put the easy ones up.
Well, while Alex is deciding, Ray, anything, I mean, I know you guys sit on the tech side of things, but
Yeah.
how is AI affecting what you guys are doing?
I mean, I think we can't, like, there's going to be a panel in 2 years from now that right now we won't be able to predict what people are talking about related to AI. That's how fast it's changing. We have talked about the crawl, walk, run. Like for us, the first step is we need to make sure we can consolidate the data that we've been talking about. But once we can consolidate that data, we think AI is going to be like a crystal ball. We think it's going to be able to help you make decisions about creatives, about your campaigns, about the channel mix we talked about, bidding strategies. It's going to help automate a lot of those insights and decision making, because the data, there's just so much data there that's hard for us to figure out which data should we look at. But it is going to be a step change for all of us. I can't wait for 2 years to see that panel, because I don't even know what that's going to look like. But we
robot versions of us, right?
It won't be
the
any-
robot's the easy part. Yeah, the AI will make a better robot. Like, it's pretty crazy.
And real quick, and I see Sherry Ann taking notes. Even people running the biggest groups are taking notes and learning. Isn't that cool, Sherry Ann? Real quick, how do you assign a value to phone call versus a form versus actual appointment? Do you assign different values or all treated the same?
Well, Sherry-Ann's probably got, you've got real patient data coming in, but let's say like in an earlier iteration where you didn't stitch together patient value, like any tips on where someone might start to just assign values, at least to the lead activities?
So we still assign values to them, because sometimes to get the bidding algorithms to optimize, if you just tried to feed it the visit signals, you wouldn't have enough. So what we do is we've delineated, and shout out to Manu did a shout out to Amal. I'll do one as well for Patient Prism, but we're able to delineate what's a high quality call that's more likely to convert versus just a lower quality call. And so what we do is we've assigned a weighting for calls, for form fills, And then of course, for appointments, and we give that to the bidding to help optimize our media. So
Values
I don't
based
know
on
if that.
values based on LTV of leads that come in that way.
Yeah. So it's more of a weighting that we're giving, knowing that the based on our data to what actually turns into a visit. But that, like I said, we can't just feed the bidding algorithms visit signals only, because then we won't have enough data. So what we did is we sort of said, like, certain calls are worth 2 points, and then the appointment's worth 10 points as an example, so that we're giving much more data to the bidding signals. We just started testing this, and ironically, I just saw the results yesterday, and they've been pretty compelling to encourage us to do that more, and like I said, get more data in, be able to be better at acquiring bids and getting
And
patients as a
I love
result.
that you said it's a weighting system, because I think a lot of people, again, that analysis paralysis, they're like, if I don't know the exact value of that patient, I shouldn't put a value into the platform. And the value doesn't matter. It's the relative value of each of the activities. So I think that's a great little tip, little nugget that people could take away from this.
They're yelling at us at time. Manu, one final question, hot seat. Stop, Austin, stop. One more question. Manu, first piece of marketing tech you would implement, small group, getting going. What's the most important?
A CDP.
Damn, right. Hey, listen,
Ray's
guys.
saying.
Yeah, well, fuck it. Ray probably slipped him a hundo before this thing. Guys, both Manu and Sherry Ann are clients of FreshPaint and Patient Prism, and they're both sponsors of Scaling Up. We told you we only bring the best technology platforms to bear here and the best speakers. This was one of my favorites ever. Don't tell the other people I said that. This was freaking awesome, man. This was fun. This was good.
CDP, Sherry Ann, anything you would add? Anything different? Same in terms of tech?
Yeah, absolutely. And to reinforce something you said, start. I think the biggest mistake that people make is, well, I don't have the entire ecosystem stitched together, so I can't do anything. But before I came, we were looking at leads and clicks, and being from there, and that's what was even being shared with the providers. And it was at the start, I think it was as soon as January this year, that the pipes, as I said, were stitched together, and that we are able to now go to appointments and visits and patient value. But it's not like before we had that, we did nothing. So that would be my biggest advice. Start with the information that you have and optimize to that. And that's how you'll get better.
Yeah, I love it. Final words. Let's leave it at that. Wise words. All right, guys, everybody listening, we've got a session starting here in just a minute. Alex and I are going to introduce, so y'all hang on. Sherry Ann, Monu, Ray, it was so great to have you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Running
Thank
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.